Excuses are the biggest barrier between you and your destiny. And most people don't even realize how deeply excuses control their lives. Excuses aren't always loud, obvious, or aggressive. Sometimes they show up quietly, wrapped in good intentions, wrapped in logic, wrapped in reasons that sound valid. But underneath every excuse is the same truth. It's the mind trying to protect you from discomfort, effort, and growth. The problem is that the same excuses that protect you from discomfort are the same excuses that prevent your transformation. Every time you choose to believe an excuse, you're choosing to shrink instead of expand, to stay instead of grow, to settle instead of pursue what you're truly capable of. People think destiny is some magical thing waiting far ahead, but destiny is simply the highest version of yourself, waiting for you to stop holding back. It's the future you could live if you stop letting excuses speak louder than your desire to change. But excuses have a way of sounding like truth. When you say you're tired, your mind agrees. When you say it's not the right time, your mind supports you. When you say you'll start tomorrow, your mind comforts you by making procrastination feel acceptable. That is how excuses win, by making stagnation feel safe and justified. Most individuals don't lose because they aren't talented or gifted. They lose because excuses rob them of the chance to use their talent consistently. Destiny doesn't require perfection. It requires commitment. It requires showing up even when you don't feel like it, even when circumstances aren't perfect, even when the path isn't easy. Excuses weaken that commitment. They drain the discipline you need to build the life you say you want. They blur the vision you once had for yourself until you can't see your own potential clearly anymore. Little by little, excuses steal your momentum. They convince you to wait for a better moment, a better move, a better opportunity. But better moments don't come. Better moves don't magically appear. Opportunity doesn't knock on doors where consistency doesn't live. When you look at successful people, one thing becomes obvious. They experience the same obstacle, the same struggles, the same fatigue, but they refuse to let excuses be the deciding voice in their story. They don't have fewer problems. They just have fewer excuses. They understand that excuses feel good in the moment, but cost you in the long term. They know excuses can comfort you today, but destroy your future tomorrow. And if you listen to excuses long enough, they become beliefs. I can't becomes who you think you are. I'm not ready becomes your identity. Maybe later becomes your lifestyle. Excuses don't just steal opportunity. They shape your character in ways you never intended. Sometimes excuses come from pain, real pain. Maybe you've been hurt, disappointed, abandoned, or discouraged. Maybe life hasn't been fair to you. But excuses don't fix pain. They just freeze you in it. Growth doesn't come from waiting for pain to disappear. Growth comes from moving despite it, building despite it, believing despite it. Some of the strongest individuals in the world were built in the same darkness that made others quit. The difference wasn't circumstances. It was their refusal to let excuses narrate their life. You can choose that same power. You can decide that even though you've been through struggle, you won't let excuses turn your struggle into permanent limitation. Your destiny is too important to negotiate with excuses. Every time you surrender to an excuse to lay the life that was meant for you, you delay the relationships you want, the health you want, the success you want, the confidence you want. Excuses don't just waste time. They waste possibility. They rob you of the person you could become. And sometimes you don't realize the cost until years later, when you look back and wonder why your life didn't change. The answer is usually simple. Excuses felt easier than effort. There comes a moment when you must recognize that excuses and destiny cannot exist in the same space. One must dominate the other. Every morning you wake up, you make a choice. Are you feeding your excuses or are you feeding your future? Are you strengthening the reasons you hold yourself back or strengthening the habits that push you forward? Because both of them grow, whichever you choose to repeat is the one that gains power. If you want to access your destiny, you have to take ownership of your life at a level most people avoid. Ownership means no more blaming circumstance, no more pointing fingers, no more relying on comfort, no more waiting for motivation. It means you speak the truth about yourself even when it hurts. It means you confront your patterns instead of hiding behind explanation. It means you hold yourself accountable even when no one else is watching. Greatness is not something that arrives by accident, and it's not something that appears in your life just because you desire it. Wanting greatness is easy. Everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to be respected. Everybody wants to be respected. Everybody wants to achieve something meaningful. But wanting doesn't build anything. Wanting doesn't change your circumstances. Wanting doesn't produce the discipline required to elevate your life. Greatness is earned through sacrifice, through consistency, through waking up every day and making decisions that match the future you say you want. And the truth is, most people never experience their greatness because they underestimate the amount of discipline required to reach it. People admire the results of greatness, but rarely the work behind it. They see the spotlight, the applause, the achievements, and the recognition, but they never see the mornings you wake up tired and still push yourself. They don't see the nights when you could be relaxing, but instead choose to grind. They don't see the weekends sacrificed, the distractions avoided, the temptations resisted. They don't see how many times you say no to comfort because you're saying yes to something bigger. Greatness demands a level of discipline that forces you to separate from the version of yourself that's satisfied with average. Discipline is not about feeling motivated. In fact, discipline is what you rely on when motivation disappears. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is a commitment. Motivation fluctuates. Discipline remains. Motivation gets you started. Discipline keeps you going when everything in you wants to stop. There will be days when you don't feel inspired. Days when life weighs heavy on you. Days when setbacks hit harder than expected. Days when progress feels slow. That is when discipline becomes the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. Without discipline, greatness becomes a fantasy. With discipline, greatness becomes inevitable. Sacrifice is another ingredient people underestimate. You cannot have everything and become great at the same time. Something has to go. You may need to sacrifice comfort, late nights, unhealthy, toxic people, old environments, or even the identity you've been holding on to. Growth requires letting go. You can't take your old excuses into your new future. You can't keep the same lazy patterns and expect extraordinary results. You can't hold on to the same distractions and then wonder why progress seems slow. Every level of greatness demands a new level of sacrifice. And the quicker you accept that truth, the quicker you unlock your potential. Consistency is where most people fall apart. They can be disciplined for a day, a week, maybe even a month, but greatness requires consistency over seasons, not moments. You don't become strong by going to the gym once in a while. You become strong by showing up repeatedly. You don't build a successful career by working hard whenever you feel like it. You build it through daily dedication. You don't transform your life because you made one good choice. Transformation happens when you make thousands of good choices, especially when you don't want to. Consistency is what turns discipline into results. It is what takes the dream in your mind and builds it into reality piece by piece. People often say, I'll start when I feel ready, but readiness is a myth. You'll never feel fully ready for the sacrifices greatness demands. The discomfort will always be there. The doubts will always whisper. The fear will always linger. But greatness doesn't require you to feel ready. It requires you to start anyway. You must take full responsibility for your life before any real transformation can begin, because ownership is the foundation of every breakthrough. As long as you believe your circumstances, your past, your environment, or the people around you control your future, you will remain stuck in the same patterns that have held you back for years. Responsibility is not about blame. Responsibility is about power. The moment you accept that your life is in your hands, you reclaim the power to change it. But most people avoid responsibility because it's easier to point outward than to look inward. It's easier to say, I can't because of them, than to admit I haven't done what I needed to do. But what's easy prevents growth, and what's honest builds transformation. People often misinterpret responsibility as guilt, as if accepting responsibility means admitting failure. But responsibility isn't about judging yourself. It's about freeing yourself. When you take responsibility, you declare that no one, not your parents, not your boss, not your city, not your circumstances, has the final say over your future. You declare that your decisions matter more than your excuses. You declare that you're not a victim of your past, but an architect of your future. That shift alone separates the people who evolve from the people who stay trapped in the same cycle for years. Transformation begins when you look at your life and say, everything that is or isn't happening is connected to the choices I've made. That level of honesty is uncomfortable, but discomfort is where growth starts. When you take responsibility, you stop negotiating with your potential. You stop giving yourself permission to settle. You stop waiting for external rescue. You begin to realize that discipline, consistency must come from within. And you stop depending on circumstances to be perfect before you take action. Responsibility forces you to develop strength, resilience, and self-control. Because you recognize that nobody is coming to do the work for you. It's easy to blame your upbringing, your lack of support, your failures, or the difficulties you faced. But blaming doesn't change anything. Responsibility does. Some people go through life saying, I would succeed if I had more chances, more money, more support. But there are countless stories of people who started with nothing and built everything they dreamed of because they refused to surrender their future to their circumstances. They took responsibility even when it was hard. Your future depends on the decisions you make daily, not the decisions you make once in a while. And this is the part most people overlook. People love big goals, big dreams, big visions, but they forget that big outcomes are built on small, consistent choices. It's the daily habits, the daily mindset, the daily actions that shape your destiny. The future you imagine for yourself is not created by occasional bursts of effort. It is created by the quiet, repetitive decisions you make when no one is watching. Your life right now is a reflection of the choices you made yesterday, last week, last month, and last year. And your life tomorrow will be shaped by the choices you are making today. Many people fail not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they underestimate the power of everyday decisions. They think their future will change with one motivated week, one inspired moment, one powerful decision. But real transformation doesn't come from moments. It comes from momentum. Momentum is created through small decisions that align with your goals. Waking up early one day won't change your life, but waking up early every day with a purpose will. Eating healthy once won't transform your body, but choosing health daily will. Practicing discipline for a week won't elevate your character, but living with discipline consistently will. The truth is, excellence is built through repetition. Your future is being shaped even in the moments you think don't matter. Every time you choose distraction over discipline, you reinforce a future you don't want. Every time you choose comfort over consistency, you move further from the version of yourself you say you want to become. Every time you put off your goals for tomorrow, you create a pattern of delay that becomes your default behavior. The small choices are important because they either build habit that push you forward or habits that pull you backward. People don't fail suddenly. They fail gradually, choice by choice, day by day, moment by moment. You can tell a lot about where someone is headed by looking at what they do consistently. If someone consistently makes excuses, consistently avoids hard work, consistently procrastinates, their future will reflect those decisions. On the other hand, if someone consistently works with purpose, consistently practices discipline, consistently invests in their growth, success becomes inevitable. Life is not determined by one decision. It's determined by the accumulation of thousands of decisions. And the sooner you take control of those daily choices, the sooner you take control of your destiny. What's challenging is that the daily decisions that matter most are often the ones that feel the least urgent. It doesn't feel urgent to read a book, study a skill, exercise, save money, or review your goals. It doesn't feel urgent to wake up a little earlier, work a little harder, stay a little longer, or focus a little deeper. But these choices accumulate into a future either filled with freedom or filled with regret. Regret is nothing more than the realization that your daily choices didn't match the life you wanted. And the most painful part of regret is knowing that a different decision was always possible. You don't need to make perfect decisions. You need to make consistent ones. Some days you won't feel like working. Some days you'll struggle. Some days you'll slip. But consistency doesn't mean never failing. It means refusing to quit. It means making the right choice more often than not. It means recognizing your mistakes and correcting them instead of repeating them. It means being honest with yourself about whether your choices reflect your goals. Every day is a chance to grow, to change, to improve, to move closer to the person you want to become. The people who succeed are not the people who always feel motivated. They are the people who understand that daily choices create identity. When you choose discipline repeatedly, you become disciplined. When you choose courage repeatedly, you become courageous. When you choose effort repeatedly, you become hardworking. Every choice shapes your character, and your character shapes your future. Who you become is not a mystery. It is the result of the decisions you practice daily. And this is why self-awareness is essential. You need to. Comfort creates excuses, and excuses create the prison that keeps you from your potential. And this is a reality that most people never face. Comfort is seductive. It feels safe, familiar, and easy. It whispers to you that staying where you are is enough, that avoiding risk is smart, that protecting yourself from pain is the way to survive. But comfort is also dangerous because it steals time, it dulls ambition, and it disguises stagnation and safety. Every time you choose comfort over growth, every time you choose ease over effort, every time you let convenience dictate your actions, you are building invisible walls around your life. These walls keep you from pursuing your dreams, your goals, and the person you are meant to become. Excuses grow naturally from comfort. They appear in your mind like shields to protect you from challenge and struggle. I'll do it later comes from comfort. I'm too tired comes from comfort. I'm not ready yet comes from comfort. I'm not ready yet comes from comfort. Every excuse is a symptom of choosing comfort over discipline, short-term ease over long-term gain. Excuses feel good in the moment because they spare you the discomfort of effort, but that same feeling is the beginning of a life half-lived. Comfort and excuses together become a habit, and habits shape your destiny. The more you choose comfort, the more excuses you generate, and the more your potential shrinks. Life was never designed for comfort. Growth requires effort, and effort requires leaving the comfort zone behind. The world doesn't reward those who take the easy path. It rewards those who endure, those who sacrifice, those who push past fear and uncertainty to achieve results. Some of the most accomplished people in history experience discomfort daily. They endured long hours, challenging setbacks, criticism, and failure, and they refused to retreat to comfort. Their refusal to settle for ease is what allowed them to create extraordinary outcomes. Every success story has a common denominator. Discomfort was embraced, and excuses were rejected. You may feel that comfort is harmless, but it is actually a slow form of decay. When you stay comfortable, you stop growing. You stop learning, you stop challenging yourself. You stop becoming stronger, wiser, and better. You settle for a version of yourself that is smaller than your potential. Every day you choose comfort over challenge is a day wasted. A day spent reinforcing a limited version of your life. You may not notice it immediately, but over time, small choices accumulate. A little comfort here, a little compromise there, and soon you are living a life that is far below what you were capable of achieving. Excuses serve as an alibi for staying in that comfort. They sound logical, even convincing, but they're lies in disguise. I don't have time is an excuse. I'm too young is an excuse. I'm too old is an excuse. I'll try later is an excuse. All of these are convenient ways to justify staying safe, staying small, staying predictable. But excuses are never the truth. They are the stories we tell ourselves to avoid the effort, the struggle, and the courage required to pursue greatness. And while they protect your comfort in the moment, they imprison your potential for a lifetime. Breaking free from comfort and excuses is not easy, and it is not meant to be. It requires courage, persistence, and self-awareness. It requires being honest about how much time you've spent running from challenges, how many opportunities you've let slip because you were avoiding discomfort, and how many dreams you've delayed because excuses were easier than action. Growth begins the moment you decide that comfort will no longer dictate your choices. The moment you accept that progress requires struggle, that success requires sacrifice, that greatness requires risk, you begin to escape the prison you built for yourself. Every time you push beyond comfort, you weaken the hold of excuses. Every time you choose action over ease, you reclaim a part of your potential. Every time you embrace struggle instead of avoiding it, you become stronger, more resilient, and more capable of achieving what you once thought impossible. There's no shortcut. There is no magic formula. There is only the consistent decision to reject comfort, reject excuses, and pursue growth relentlessly, even when it is painful, inconvenient, or challenging. The life you want, the person you want to become, and the achievements you dream of are all on the other side of discomfort. Comfort keeps you trapped, but discomfort sets you free. Excuses chain you to the familiar, but action liberates you to reach higher. Every choice you make either reinforces the walls of your prison or breaks them down. The difference between living an average life and an extraordinary life is simple. Those who succeed repeatedly choose challenge over comfort, effort over ease, and action over excuses. They understand that comfort may feel good for a moment,